The first time I heard the whispering, I thought it was the pipes. It was around 2 a.m., and I'd just moved into my new apartment downtown. Top floor, cheap rent, a little too good to be true, but I didn't question it. I was desperate. The city was loud, the building was old, and I was too broke to care. But that night, the noise wasn't normal plumbing sounds. It wasn't groaning metal or dripping water. It was a voice, low, raspy, just barely audible, like someone speaking directly into my ear while I slept. "You hear me?" I sat straight up in bed, heart slamming in my chest. My room was pitch black, except for the red numbers of my alarm clock glowing 2:06. Everything was still. I held my breath. Nothing. The sound was gone. I told myself I'd imagined it. Maybe it was the pipes. This place probably hadn't had maintenance since the 90s. I turned over and tried to sleep. The next night it happened again. Same time. Same voice. A little louder. "Why don't you come up here?" I jumped out of bed this time, turned on every light. Searched the apartment, closets, bathroom, under the couch. I even stood in the hallway for a minute listening. Silence. My unit 6B was on the top floor, but there was one more apartment technically above mine, 7A. A tiny, sealed-off loft unit that sat alone above the corner of the building. I'd seen the door during move-in. Rusted number plate. Chain across the handle. Completely abandoned. Or so I thought. The third night I recorded it, set my phone to voice memo, left it on my nightstand and tried to sleep. I woke up with the same feeling, like someone had been standing over me. I didn't hear anything in the moment, but the next morning I played back the audio. Nothing for the first few minutes. Then, "You shouldn't be here. They always send someone new. Don't look for me." The whispering lasted for 6 minutes. My skin broke out in goosebumps. It was so close, like it was coming from just inches away. But my door had been locked. Windows sealed. I lived alone. There was no one else in that room. I brought it up with my landlord. She laughed like I'd asked about ghosts in the basement. 7A, she said. "That place is sealed. Hasn't been rented in years. No one lives up there." "Then who's whispering through my ceiling?" She blinked. "No one. It's probably the plumbing. Or maybe vents carrying sound from downstairs." "There are no vents," I snapped. "I've checked. And it's always around 2 a.m. Her face changed then, just slightly, like she wanted to say something but didn't. Instead, she forced a tight smile. "If it really bothers you, I can send maintenance up to look. But don't worry about 7A, it's not your concern." That night I couldn't sleep. I laid on the floor, ear pressed to the carpet, directly under the spot where the whispers always came from. And this time I didn't wait, I whispered first. "Who are you?" For a long time, nothing. Just the hum of the fridge, the buzz of the streetlights outside. Then, like someone had been crouched above me, waiting, a reply. "I live where they put people who don't leave." I scrambled back, heart thudding so hard it hurt. The voice sounded almost excited, hungry. I packed a bag that night and slept in my car. I stayed with a friend the next few nights, but curiosity got the better of me. I had to know who or what was in that unit above mine. It didn't feel like a ghost, it felt like a person. Something real. I went back during the day and found the maintenance guy, Reggie, on a smoke break out back. 7A? He repeated, frowning. "Why the hell are you asking about that one?" "I think someone's in there. I've heard voices. At night." Reggie stared at me a long moment. "They didn't tell you, did they?" "Tell me what?" He looked over his shoulder, then leaned in. "That place used to be the live-in for a guy who worked security. Building installed a whisper intercom system, some experimental sound network. Cheap tech. Guy went nuts. Said he could hear voices between the walls even when the thing was off." I swallowed. "What happened to him?" "Don't know. One day he just stopped coming out. They sealed it. Said it was safer." "Safer for who?" I asked. Reggie dropped his cigarette. "You should find another place to live." The landlord called me the next morning. "I heard you were asking about 7A, she said, tone sharp. "That's not your business. If you're uncomfortable in 6B, I can offer you an early lease break." "I want to go inside," I said. "Just once." "That's all?" There was a pause. "No," she said finally. "You're not going up there." Then she hung up. I should have let it go. I should have packed my stuff and left. But something in me needed to see it. If I didn't, I'd always wonder. Always feel like I was being watched. So that night, I waited at exactly 2:06 a.m. I crept into the hallway, quiet, barefoot. The building was dead silent. Even the hum of the vending machine felt too loud. I climbed the final stairwell to the top. A was just as I remembered, a warped, yellowing door with peeling paint. The chain lock dangled loose. Someone had unhooked it. My throat tightened. I pushed the door. It creaked open. The air inside was ice cold, like walking into a freezer. Dust danced in the single shaft of moonlight leaking through a broken window. Everything was stripped, floorboards exposed, wires hanging from the ceiling, except, in the far corner under a pile of ratty blankets, something moved. I couldn't see a face, just the shape of a man, sitting, breathing, then that same voice. "You heard me, didn't you?" I didn't respond. They always send someone who listens. He stood up, slow, deliberate, and the light above the doorway flickered to life, buzzing. That's when I saw the walls. Every inch of them was covered in words, scribbled in pen, carved into plaster, written in blood like rust. The same phrase over and over. They put me in the ceiling. They put me in the ceiling. They put me in the ceiling. I turned and ran. I didn't stop running until I was back in my apartment. Door locked, chain latched. But even as I stood there, chest heaving, I could still feel him, that presence pressing through the ceiling like static. Every sound felt amplified, my own breathing. The hum of the fridge, the faint tick of the radiator. Then came the whisper, "You shouldn't have opened it. It wasn't coming from above anymore. It was coming from inside the vent." I grabbed my keys and tried to leave, but the front door wouldn't budge. The knob turned, but something heavy on the other side held it shut. I pounded on the wood. No answer. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then stayed dim, just enough to see shadows shift on the wall. Something scraped across the ceiling, slow and deliberate, like fingertips dragging along drywall. I froze. The whisper came again, softer now, almost pleading. "You let me out, now let me in." My heart thudded so hard it made my vision pulse. I backed away, staring up. The ceiling bulged, like something was pushing from the other side, pressing down through the plaster. It cracked, just a hairline split, then another. Bits of dust rained onto my shoulders. I ran to the window. It was painted shut. I yanked, kicked, cursed. Nothing. Behind me, a small chunk of plaster fell to the floor. Then another. Then a hand broke through. It wasn't a ghostly hand. It looked human, pale, long-fingered, dirt under the nails. But the skin was wrong, grayish, paper-thin, like it had been stretched too tight. The fingers gripped the ceiling edge, tearing more open. I screamed and grabbed the first thing near me, my floor lamp, and slammed it upward. The bulb shattered, sparks flying. The arm disappeared. For a moment there was silence, then laughter, soft, raspy, like someone who hadn't used their voice in years. "You sound like her." I froze. "What?" The last one they sent. The wall intercom suddenly clicked. I didn't even realize it had one. The small yellowed box next to my door crackled alive, the red light blinking. "This is management," the voice was female. Calm. "My landlord. Stay where you are. Don't engage. We're handling it." I pressed the button. "What the hell is going on?" "Who's in there?" Static. Then, faintly. Not through the speaker, but from behind the wall. "She's lying." I don't remember deciding to do it, but I started tearing through the closet, pulling down the loose panel in the back that opened into the building's utility crawlspace. I don't know what I thought I'd find. Maybe a way out, maybe answers. It was pitch dark inside. The air smelled like dust and mold and something metallic, like blood and copper pipes. I crawled in, flashlight trembling in my hand. Every movement echoed. I could hear humming, not mechanical but human. A low, tuneless hum drifting from somewhere up ahead. The sound led upward toward a square opening. A ladder, faded yellow paint. It led straight to 7A. When I emerged, the room looked different than before. The light was gone. The moonlight blocked by something nailed over the window. The scribbles on the wall looked fresh, wet, and in the middle of the room, the blankets were gone. There was a chair instead, a metal folding chair with straps bolted to the arms, and on the floor beside it a row of cassette tapes, each labeled in pencil, Tenant 4A, Tenant 5C, Tenant 6B. I picked up the last one. My hands shook as I loaded it into the old tape recorder sitting on the floor. It clicked, hissed. Then my own voice played back. "You hear me?" My stomach dropped. It was my whisper, my voice. From nights ago, the recorder continued, "You shouldn't be here. They always send someone new. Don't look for me." I fell backward, bile rising in my throat. I could barely breathe. It wasn't the man whispering to me. It was me whispering to him. Somehow, through those vents, through that damn whisper system, my voice had been looping back, talking to something that used to be human. I looked at the walls again. The writing, the repeating line, they put me in the ceiling. There was more below it, hidden beneath layers of scratches. I wiped the dust away. They put me in the ceiling to watch the new tenants. Footsteps creaked behind me. Slow, bare. I turned. The man stood in the doorway. Gray skin, blank eyes, smiling. He looked like he hadn't eaten or seen sunlight in years. "You came back," he rasped. "Now it's your turn." He stepped closer. I tried to back away, but my legs wouldn't move. Every sound felt muffled, like my ears had filled with water. The edges of the room shimmered. The man raised his hand and touched the side of my face. Cold. Wet. "You'll hear them too," he whispered. "You'll hear me." When I woke up, it was morning. I was back in my apartment, lying on the couch. For a second, I thought I'd dreamed it. But then I noticed the dust on my clothes. The cuts on my hands and the vent above my bed was gone, replaced by a smooth plastered patch. I moved out that day, packed everything in 2 hours and never looked back. That was 3 months ago. I live across town now. New building, new locks, new life. But every night around 2 a.m., my phone buzzes. Unknown number. Voicemail left. No message, just breathing. I've stopped answering. Last night, though, I played one. Just one. The voice was faint, distorted like it was coming through a wall. "You shouldn't have left." And in the background, my own voice whispering back, "You hear me?" Now, when I lie awake at night, I can't tell if the whispers are coming from the ceiling or from inside my head. The first night I noticed it, I thought it was just a timer. That basement light, warm, orange, low, flickering on across the street at exactly 2:13 a.m. I watched it from my bedroom window, half awake, mind still blurry from sleep. Just a small rectangular window near the ground, glowing under the old man's porch. Nothing too weird. Houses on this block were old. People use timers all the time. But the second night, it flicked on again. 2:13 a.m. exactly. And that time, it stayed on for 5 minutes. Then blinked out like someone pulled a string. I still wasn't creeped out. Just curious. I didn't know much about Mr. Connolly. Just that he was retired, maybe 70. Always wore the same tan jacket when he went to get the mail. We waved a couple times. Seemed like the kind of guy who hated noise, lived alone, had no visitors, a relic of the street. I hadn't seen him in about 2 weeks, but honestly, that wasn't surprising, not until the third night. That night, the light came on, and I saw a shadow move past the window. Fast. Too fast for someone that age. Just a blur, tall, lean, pacing maybe. Then nothing. Just the warm glow again. I watched for 10 minutes, didn't blink, nothing else. Then the light blinked twice before going out, almost like someone knew I was watching. I asked around the next day. "Anyone seen Mr. Connolly lately?" I asked my neighbor, Patrice. She looked up from watering her plants. "Oh," she said, blinking. "You know, no, not since the mail piled up." We both glanced across the street. Sure enough, 3 yellow envelopes were still sticking out of his rusty mailbox, curled from the rain. "Should we check?" I asked. Patrice shrugged. "Probably just out of town, he keeps to himself." But something in her voice sounded unsure. Night 4. 2:13 a.m. on the dot. This time I had my phone out, camera rolling. Light turned on. Nothing for 30 seconds. Then the shadow again. Definitely a person. Head and shoulders, walking past the window and back. Slow this time. I zoomed in. It stopped. Whoever it was, they stood still, facing the window, just out of frame, not moving. I swear to God they knew I was watching. Then the light blinked twice and went out. I tried to sleep. I really did. But something kept bugging me. The way the light turned off, it wasn't a switch flick. It was more like a manual bulb unscrew or a cord pull. Old school, deliberate, and the fact that it was the exact same time every night, not random, not accidental. The next day, I did something I shouldn't have. I walked across the street, mid-morning. The sun was out. The neighborhood was normal. Dogs barking, lawnmowers humming, sprinklers clicking. Mr. Connolly's house looked like it had always looked. Faded blue siding, cracked front steps, yellowed curtains in every window. I rang the bell, waited. Nothing. I knocked. Louder. Still nothing. Then I cupped my hands and peered through the front window. Inside was dark, musty, like it had been closed up for weeks. But I could make out the furniture, armchair, a side table, stacks of old newspapers, and something else, a plate on the floor. With food, rotten food, fuzzy green mold clinging to what looked like meat or eggs, fresh enough that it hadn't completely collapsed in on itself. So, maybe a week old? That's when I heard it, from the side of the house. A low clack, like a deadbolt turning. I backed off the porch and looked around the corner. Nothing, but I felt something, that creepy, skin-prickling feeling you get when you know someone's watching you. I walked home fast, didn't look back. That night, the light didn't come on. No glow, no shadow, nothing. But something else happened. Someone knocked on my back door. Not the front, not even the side. The back, the one that opened into my fenced-in yard. 13 a.m. 3 slow knocks. I sat up in bed, frozen. I hadn't told anyone what I saw. I hadn't posted online, hadn't sent the video to anyone, so who the hell knew? I stayed quiet, didn't even breathe. Then, after maybe 30 seconds, I heard footsteps walking away. I didn't sleep. The next morning I checked my backyard. Gate was still locked, no footprints, but taped to my back door, with yellowing Scotch tape, was a photo, black and white, faded, a man in a basement, sitting in a metal chair, hands in his lap, wearing a tan jacket. Mr. Connolly. The back of the photo had a single word written in shaky handwriting, stay. That's when I called the cops. I didn't even care if they thought I was crazy. I showed them the photo, told them I hadn't seen my neighbor in weeks, that someone was in his house and possibly in his basement, that the basement light had been turning on every night at the exact same time. They sent an officer out, did a wellness check. I stood across the street, heart racing as the officer knocked, shouted, circled around the back. Eventually, he forced the door open and went in. He was inside for maybe 10 minutes, then came back out and walked over to me. House is empty, he said. What about the basement? I asked. He looked at me for a second, then nodded. We checked it. Did you see anything? A light? Chair? That kind of thing? Nope, he said flatly. No basement light installed. Just a breaker panel. Place is dusty as hell, but no signs of forced entry or anyone living there. He handed the photo back to me. Probably just a prank. You said he's a loner? Might have moved into a home or something. Happens. That was it. They left. But I knew what I saw. And that officer was lying. I waited again that night, eyes glued to the window. Nothing happened at 2:13. No light, no knocks. But at 2:31, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail, just static. Then a deep voice, slow and drawn out. You looked. I didn't sleep the night after that voicemail. I kept hearing little sounds, the creak of the wood floor settling, the faint whir of the fridge kicking on. Every noise felt like it was trying to mask something else, something quieter, something watching. I replayed that message over and over. The voice didn't sound like Mr. Connolly. It was lower, like someone trying to speak from deep inside a tunnel, like they weren't used to using words. You looked. No one ever uses my number. I hadn't posted it anywhere. I'd never even listed it on public records or rental forms. It was a burner line I only used for food delivery and emergencies, so whoever sent that had to be watching me. Had to be close. I told myself I'd go to work and forget about it. Try to act normal. But when I walked outside, something stopped me cold. Across the street, Mr. Connolly's mailbox was empty. Not like someone collected it properly. Like it had been cleared out violently. Mail scattered all over the yard. Ripped envelopes hanging half out. A soggy magazine stuck in the rose bush. And on the front porch, his tan jacket, folded, neat, placed on the top step like someone wanted it to be seen. That jacket had been on the man in the photo. The one taped to my door. I called Patrice. No answer. I called the cops again. This time they didn't even send someone out. The woman on the line sighed and told me there was no active missing persons report, no signs of a break-in, and no legal reason to search the property again. It's a strange neighborhood, sir. Let's not make it stranger. Then she hung up. That night I stayed up with all the lights on. I even locked my bedroom door and propped a chair under the knob. At 2:13 a.m. the light didn't come on. But I kept staring at the basement window, waiting. At 2:29 a.m. it lit up. And this time it stayed on. No flicker, no blinking, just that warm glow in the tiny window across the street like a lantern lit below ground. I zoomed in with my phone. No shadow this time. Just the chair. The metal folding chair I remembered from the photo. And someone was sitting in it. It was him. Or at least, something that looked like Mr. Connolly, but he didn't move. He just sat there. Head tilted back. Eyes reflecting orange. I held my breath. Waited. Then, the basement light behind me turned off. I spun around. There is no basement in my house there. Shouldn't have been a light. But, from under my living room floorboards, faintly, unmistakably, came the sound of a switch clicking off. That was when I knew. It wasn't just Mr. Connolly's house anymore. Whatever this thing was, it had moved. Or spread. I grabbed my phone, hit record, walked downstairs barefoot, floor cold, every board groaning like it was trying to warn me. There was no door to a basement, but in the back corner of the kitchen, behind a cabinet I never used, there was a panel in the wall I'd never noticed, painted over. I scraped at the edge with a butter knife. Underneath was a handle. I shouldn't have opened it. But I had to know, I had to see. The panel creaked open. Behind it, a narrow staircase, wooden, unfinished, leading straight down into complete blackness. And from below, I heard breathing. Slow, wet, human. You looked, the voice again, right below me. I slammed the panel shut and nailed it closed. Didn't sleep. Didn't move. Sat in the corner with a kitchen knife clutched in both hands, eyes locked on that spot until the sun came up. Next day, I texted Patrice. Me. Have you noticed anything weird across the street? Her reply, don't ask. Just act like you never saw the light. I stared at her message, stomach twisting. Me. You saw it too? The light in the basement? No reply. An hour later, I saw her get into her car. She didn't even look at me. She never came back. It's been 3 days. I haven't seen her house lights turn on since. But last night at 2:13 a.m., I looked across the street. The basement light was back. And now there were 2 chairs, side by side, both occupied. I've started hearing things during the day now. The breathing doesn't wait for night anymore. It comes through the floorboards while I eat, while I shower, while I sit perfectly still. Sometimes I hear tapping like fingernails dragging across the underside of the floor, like someone learning the layout of my house from below. I tried to play music, block it out. But my speakers die at 2:13 every night, exactly, even the analog ones. It's like the sound itself has a curfew. Yesterday I checked the city blueprints. My house. No basement, Mr. Connolly's? 1 unfinished sublevel. Patrice's house. 2 basements. The second one wasn't labeled. Just a note, sealed 1986. Do not access. But the light in her basement turned on last night. And now there are 3 chairs. I don't know how many people live on this street. Honestly, I don't think anyone does. Because if you look at property records from the last 20 years, you'll see the same pattern. People move in. 6 months later, mail piles up. Light flickers on. The houses are sold quietly and nobody ever sees the owners again. The chairs keep multiplying. and the basement lights stay on longer each night, like it's waiting. 2 hours ago, I heard a click behind the wall. That cabinet panel in my kitchen unlocked, on its own. There are stairs again. They weren't there yesterday. Part 3. I didn't open the panel right away. I just stared at it. The handle that wasn't there yesterday. The sliver of darkness leaking out from the edge. That thick, musty earth smell. Like soil and copper and something rotting underneath it all. I was shaking. Hands clammy, breathing shallow. Then, without touching it, the panel swung open on its own. Slow. Smooth. Like someone wanted me to come down. Like they were inviting me. I should have run. Instead, I grabbed a flashlight and stepped inside. The staircase was narrow and steep, wood so old it splintered under my feet. Each step down, the air got colder, the smell stronger. Not like a regular basement, and this was below that. Like a place the house forgot it had. The walls were dirt, the floor packed mud. No insulation, no piping, just black, heavy. Still, and then I saw the light. At the end of the hallway, a soft orange glow. Same color as Mr. Connolly's basement light. It bled out through a doorway covered in hanging plastic strips, the kind you'd find in old meat lockers. The breathing was louder now. Not frantic, just steady, rhythmic, like something alive and waiting. I pushed the strips aside. Inside the room were 4 chairs, metal folding chairs, identical. And in each one sat a person, Mr. Connolly, Patrice, a man I didn't recognize, and an empty chair, with my name taped to the back. All of them sat still, not restrained, not gagged, just seated, upright, eyes open, mouths slightly parted. They weren't blinking. Mr. Connolly, I whispered. His head twitched just a bit, like a glitch in a video file. I stepped closer. His eyes flicked toward me, but the rest of his body didn't move. Then a voice from behind me. "You saw the light." I turned. No one. Just that voice again. Same as the voicemails, same as the whisper under my floor. "You looked when you weren't supposed to." I backed away. "What is this? Who are you?" "We're what happens when you don't mind your own home." The ground shook, just a tremble, like something shifting beneath the dirt. The walls began to pulse, like lungs breathing in and out, slow, heavy. I ran. Back up the steps, stumbling, flashlight bouncing off every jagged surface. But the stairs were longer now, twisted, warped, like they went deeper than before. When I finally reached the top and burst into my kitchen, it was still night, but the clock said 2:13 a.m. exactly, like time had waited for me. The panel slammed shut behind me. I left the house that night, drove for hours, Motel 6 towns over, slept with the lights on, didn't go back for 3 days. When I did, the house felt normal. Daylight, warm air, just a house again, except the mail hadn't come, and neither had Patrice's, and the basement light across the street, still on. Now 24/7, I started watching the neighborhood differently. Every house that had the light, every basement window that glowed orange, those houses didn't get mail, didn't get visitors. The grass didn't get mowed. No trash bins went out, but they all had people, sitting, watching, waiting. I saw them sometimes, standing at second-story windows, staring across the street at each other, not blinking. And every night at 2:13 a.m., all the lights in those basements flicked off at once, for 60 seconds, then back on, like a breath. I called the city again, tried to report everything, showed them the photo, the messages, the unsealed panel in my kitchen. They looked at me like I was delusional. One officer pulled me aside and whispered, "Stop digging. You're not the first." He gave me a number, told me to call it if I wanted out quietly. I never called, but I did stop asking. I moved 6 months later. Across the country. No forwarding address, no social media. Switched numbers. I thought I was free. But last week I got a package, no return address inside a metal folding chair, and a single photo, black and white me, sitting in a basement I'd never seen. Eyes blank, mouth open. The back of the photo had 2 words, scrawled in shaky ink, "Almost ready." I haven't looked at my basement light since, but I feel it at night. That faint orange glow, bleeding through the vents, And sometimes when the power goes out, I swear I can hear the sound of chairs scraping on concrete. If you ever see your neighbor's basement light flick on after midnight, don't watch. Don't ask. Don't open your door. Because once they know you're looking, they've already made you a seat. I didn't open the panel right away. I just stared at it, the handle that wasn't there yesterday, the sliver of darkness leaking out from the edge, that thick musty earth smell, like soil and copper and something rotting underneath it all. I was shaking, hands clammy, breathing shallow. Then without touching it, the panel swung open on its own. Slow, smooth, like someone wanted me to come down. Like they were inviting me. I should have run. Instead, I grabbed a flashlight and stepped inside. The staircase was narrow and steep. Wood so old it splintered under my feet. Each step down, the air got colder. The smell stronger. Not like a regular basement, this was below that. Like a place the house forgot it had. The walls were dirt, the floor packed mud, no insulation, no piping, just black, heavy, still. And then I saw the light. At the end of the hallway, a soft orange glow. Same color as Mr. Connolly's basement light. It bled out through a doorway covered in hanging plastic strips, the kind you'd find in old meat lockers. The breathing was louder now. Not frantic, just steady, rhythmic, like something alive and waiting. I pushed the strips aside. Inside the room were 4 chairs, metal folding chairs, identical. And in each one sat a person, Mr. Connolly, Patrice, a man I didn't recognize, and an empty chair with my name taped to the back. All of them sat still. Not restrained, not gagged, just seated, upright, eyes open, mouths slightly parted. They weren't blinking. "Mr. Connolly," I whispered. His head twitched just a bit, like a glitch in a video file. I stepped closer. His eyes flicked toward me, but the rest of his body didn't move. Then a voice from behind me. "You saw the light?" I turned. No one. Just that voice again. Same as the voicemails. Same as the whisper under my floor. "You looked when you weren't supposed to." I backed away. "What is this? Who are you? We're what happens when you don't mind your own home." The ground shook. Just a tremble. Like something shifting beneath the dirt. The walls began to pulse. Like lungs breathing in and out. Slow. Heavy. I ran. Back up the steps. Stumbling. Flashlight bouncing off every jagged surface. But the stairs were longer now, twisted, warped. Like they went deeper than before. When I finally reached the top and burst into my kitchen, it was still night. But the clock said 2:13 a.m. Exactly. Like time had waited for me. The panel slammed shut behind me. I left the house that night. Drove for hours. Motel 6 towns over. Slept with the lights on. Didn't go back for 3 days. When I did, the house felt normal. Daylight, warm air, just a house again. Except the mail hadn't come, and neither had Patrice's, and the basement light across the street. Still on. Now 24/7, I started watching the neighborhood differently. Every house that had the light, every basement window that glowed orange, those houses didn't get mail, didn't get visitors. The grass didn't get mowed. No trash bins went out, but they all had people sitting, watching, waiting. I saw them sometimes, standing at second-story windows, staring across the street at each other, not blinking. And every night at 2:13 a.m., all the lights in those basements flicked off at once, for 60 seconds, then back on, like a breath. I called the city again, tried to report everything, showed them the photo, the messages, the unsealed panel in my kitchen. They looked at me like I was delusional. One officer pulled me aside and whispered, "Stop digging. You're not the first." He gave me a number, told me to call it if I wanted out quietly. I never called, but I did stop asking. I moved 6 months later. Across the country, no forwarding address, no social media. Switched numbers, I thought I was free. But last week I got a package, no return address, inside a metal folding chair, and a single photo, black and white me, sitting in a basement I'd never seen, eyes blank, mouth open. The back of the photo had 2 words, scrawled in shaky ink. "Almost ready." I haven't looked at my basement light since, but I feel it at night. That faint orange glow, bleeding through the vents. And sometimes when the power goes out, I swear I can hear the sound of chairs scraping on concrete. If you ever see your neighbor's basement light flick on after midnight, don't watch. Don't ask. Don't open your door, because once they know you're looking, they've already made you a seat. The day after my parents died, a woman picked me up from school and said she was my aunt. Not, "Hi, sweetie, I'm your Aunt Kim." Not, "I'm so sorry about what happened." Just, "Come on. Grab your stuff. We've got a long drive." I was 12, numb, confused, in shock. Everyone else had been whispering all day. Teachers, counselors, even the principal. All I knew was my parents were gone in a car crash and I wasn't going back to the house. Ever. So when this woman in a gray coat walked into the office and signed her name on the release form, I just went with her. I didn't think to ask questions. Until later. Her car was clean. Too clean. Not a speck of dust. Not even a smudge on the windows. The kind of car that smells like chemicals instead of people. She didn't ask me anything the whole drive. Didn't explain where we were going. Didn't even play music, just drove. Straight out of the city and into the hills. The trees got thicker. Houses got farther apart. No streetlights. No cell reception. I watched her from the passenger seat, her hands on the wheel, her face too still. She didn't look like the woman I remembered from old family photos. Not exactly, but maybe I was just misremembering. Grief does that, right? Her house was at the end of a long gravel road with no name. 2 stories. Wood paneling. Shutters nailed shut. No neighbors. I stepped inside and immediately smelled old wood, dried pine needles, and something like wet clay, like the house had been sealed for too long. "Upstairs," she said. "You get the back bedroom." I looked at her. "Aunt Kim?" I tried. She turned her head slowly. "That's what they told you to call me, right?" That made me pause. I didn't say anything else. Just took my bag and walked upstairs. The room she gave me had no posters, no decorations, no anything. Just a bed, a dresser, and a small window looking out into the woods. No Wi-Fi. No cell bars. No TV. There was a landline downstairs, but I never saw her use it. And when I picked it up one night, there was no dial tone. The house was dead quiet, and except at night. The first night I heard her pacing, up and down the hallway. Slow steps, soft creaks, back and forth. Over and over. At one point, she stopped outside my door. Just stood there. Didn't knock. Didn't say anything. Just stood. I held my breath so she wouldn't know I was awake. Eventually, she moved on. The second night, I woke up to the sound of her talking to someone. Whispers. At first, I thought she was on the phone, but I snuck to the top of the stairs and listened. There was no phone. She was sitting on the living room floor, cross-legged, facing the wall. Whispering. "You don't understand. She's not ready. No, you wait. You always wait. It's not your turn yet." Then silence. I backed into my room and locked the door. On the third day, I asked her where the bathroom was. She blinked, like the question didn't make sense. "There's one upstairs, but you won't need it much." I didn't understand what she meant until later. She made me eat every meal at the same time, sitting across from her at a long wooden table. Same food every day. Oatmeal, plain chicken, unsweetened tea, no snacks, no seconds. When I asked if I could have something else, she stared at me too long, then said, "You need to keep your body quiet." That's the rule. The rule? On the 4th day, I went looking. I wanted proof that this woman was really my aunt, that I wasn't just dumped here with someone who said she was. There were no family photos in the house, no albums, no framed pictures, just a single drawer in the hallway desk filled with black and white Polaroids of other children. None of them looked like me. All of them were standing in the same place, the woods behind the house. All of them had something blurry behind them. Like motion, like someone tall moving in the trees. That night I tried to leave. I waited until she was asleep, slipped on my shoes, opened the front door quietly. I was halfway down the porch steps when I heard her voice behind me. "You can't go into the woods, Ava." I froze. She hadn't yelled. She hadn't chased me. She just stood inside the doorway, eyes glowing from the hallway light. "They already know your name." I didn't go back to sleep. I laid in bed with the blanket up to my chin, staring at the ceiling. And I realized something. There were no mirrors in the house. Not in the bathroom, not in my bedroom, nowhere. The next morning I asked her about it. Why aren't there any mirrors? She set her tea down. Because if you see what's behind you, she said calmly, they see you back. I stopped talking to her after that. I stayed in my room most days, stared out the window, counted trees, watched the birds disappear, and one day, on maybe the 5th or 6th time, I saw someone else across the fence, just beyond the clearing. A girl. She was maybe 20 feet away, standing still, pale, hair like mine, same height. She waved, slow, gentle. I almost waved back. But then I heard a soft voice behind me. Not Aunt Kim. That's not her. I spun around. No one was in the room. When I looked back outside, the girl was gone. That night, I whispered through the floor vent while Aunt Kim paced the hall. I don't even know why. Just wanted to hear a human voice other than hers. Is someone down there? I asked. No reply. Just the sound of footsteps overhead. But a second later, I heard it. A reply. She's not the only one pretending. My blood ran cold. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. That voice didn't come from the house. It came from underneath it, absolutely, and here is. I stopped using the vents after that. I didn't know what was under the house or how deep the crawl space went. But I knew one thing for sure. Someone was listening. Someone who wasn't her. And whatever that voice was, it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like a threat pretending to help me. I tried to be smart. Tried to act like I was playing along. I ate my meals. I nodded when she talked. I stopped asking about my parents. Stopped asking about the girl in the woods. Stopped asking if I could call anyone. But I paid attention. I watched her eyes when she turned corners too slowly. Watched how she always counted under her breath before opening any door. I listened to the way the floor creaked differently in front of the closet at the end of the hall. The way she flinched when she heard a dog barking, even though we were miles from any other houses. And I noticed how every single night at 2:17 a.m., she turned off all the lights and stood perfectly still in the center of the living room, facing the front door, eyes shut, barefoot for exactly 4 minutes. I timed it. One night, I watched her do it. I crept halfway down the stairs and crouched in the dark. She stood there in her nightgown, arms limp at her sides, eyes closed like she was in a trance. I thought maybe she was praying, but then something knocked on the door. Once, long pause. Then 3 short raps. She didn't move, didn't even flinch, just whispered under her breath. Not tonight. She's not ready. I ran back upstairs before the 4 minutes were up. The next morning I asked her, calmly, if I could see my parents' grave. She blinked again. She always did that when she didn't know how to respond. They were cremated, she said finally. It's better that way. I didn't ask where the ashes were. I knew I wouldn't get a real answer. On the 9th day, I woke up to a piece of paper under my pillow. Not a note. A drawing. It was me, same pajamas, same braid, same scar on my wrist from when I fell off a bike. I was standing in the woods, smiling, but my eyes were scratched out with something dark. On the back was a single sentence. The real one is still out here. That afternoon, I asked to go outside. She didn't like that. Why? I need air, I lied. She stared for a long time, then said, if you go out, you don't talk. You don't answer. You don't look back. Understand? I nodded. She unlocked the back door and stood in the frame, arms crossed, watching me the entire time I wandered into the yard. I stayed within sight, but as I reached the edge of the woods, I heard it again. Ava, my name, spoken by someone deeper in the trees. It was my voice. I ran back toward the house. She was already waiting by the door. Did you hear it? I hesitated. No, I said. She studied me, then nodded once. It's learning. That night I dreamt I was trapped underground. Roots were pushing through the ceiling. My hands were tied to the floorboards, and something was crawling toward me in the dark, dragging itself with long arms. Smiling with my face, I woke up gasping. There was dirt under my fingernails, and my bedroom window was unlatched. The next morning, Aunt Kim was already in the kitchen. No food on the table, just her waiting. Do you want the truth now? She asked. I didn't answer. I'm not your aunt, she said. My stomach dropped. She died 3 years ago. Out there. She pointed out the window toward the trees. She saw it. She called it by name. Anna kept her face. My voice came out hoarse. "So, who are you?" She gave the faintest, saddest smile I'd ever seen. The one who traps the copies before they make it to the house. She opened the closet at the end of the hall. Inside were dozens of folded outfits, shoes, hair ties, old drawings, cracked glasses, little kid backpacks. I stepped forward and noticed a dusty Polaroid taped to the inside of the door. It was me, a younger version of me, maybe 8. Wearing the same hoodie I'd lost years ago, standing in the woods, next to someone that looked almost like my mom, but taller, too thin, and smiling too wide. "It always starts with the crash," she whispered behind me. "Sometimes it's real. Sometimes it isn't, but either way, that's how it gets close." I wanted to scream, to run. But I couldn't. I just stood there staring at the photo, heart breaking open in my chest. "Then who am I?" I asked. She stepped forward, gently placed her hand on my shoulder. "That's what it wants you to ask." I didn't sleep after she told me the truth. Not that night. Not any night after. Every shadow felt like it was watching me. Every floorboard creak might have been her, or the thing in the woods, or something between the two, but I stayed. Because I didn't know who else to trust, and because I wasn't sure I could leave without it following. In the days that followed, the house changed. She stopped hiding things, let me into the real rooms. There was a crawl space under the stairs packed with notebooks, old yellow-paged journals filled with frantic handwriting, diagrams of trees, notes on behavior, and lists of names, most crossed out. I found mine near the bottom of the most recent page, not crossed out yet, next to it a single word. Still here, I started asking more questions. "What is it?" She didn't have a name, or wouldn't say it. Just called it the one that waits. "Why me?" "Because you were the easiest to reach," she said. "Grief opens the door." She showed me the rules again, not written, spoken, like a chant. Don't speak your name outside. Don't look at it directly. Don't let it speak twice. Don't take food from the forest. Don't follow a familiar face into the trees. If it knocks more than once, it already knows where you sleep. I asked about the girl I saw, the one who looked like me. She said those were called copies, but not copies in the way we think. They weren't perfect, not at first. They grew from what they could steal: sound, memory, routine. They learn the way a shadow learns to fall in the same place every day. And the longer you look at one, the more it learns to be you. I kept having the same dream every night, waking up in the middle of the woods. Fog curling around my legs, something moving just ahead of me, dragging its feet. Breathing loud. Every time I tried to run, I heard my own voice shout from behind, "Stop running. I'm the real one." And every time I turned around, I saw myself, smiling. One night I found something hidden behind the dresser in my room. A small circular mirror, face down, cracked, wrapped in a flannel cloth. Taped to the back was a note in blocky handwriting. "Do not look at yourself after dark." I flipped the mirror over and caught my reflection by accident. It was me. But not quite. I wasn't blinking. I wasn't breathing, just smiling wide, too wide. The next morning I asked her about it. "What happens if it gets in?" She didn't answer at first. Just stared at her tea, then she said, "Then we don't get you back." "But what is it?" I asked again. "What does it want?" "It doesn't want anything," she whispered. "It's a shape that fills emptiness. And people like us, the grieving, the lonely, we have holes big enough to let it in." She showed me something that afternoon, took me out back, down a path I hadn't seen before, a trail that curved behind the tool shed through a veil of pine trees. It opened into a small clearing with wooden stakes in the ground, dozens of them, some bare, some with faded cloth hanging off the tops, some with names carved into the base. "What is this?" I asked. She didn't answer, just walked to the last stake and ran her hand across it. I stepped forward and froze. It had my name on it. Not carved, branded, fresh. That night, she woke me at 2:10 a.m., shaking me by the shoulders, her eyes wide, breath short. "It's close," she whispered. "It's going to test you." She made me get dressed, pulled me downstairs. Every light was already off. Only moonlight from the windows. "Don't speak," she said, "no matter what you hear." Then she left me. Alone. The front door creaked open on its own at 2:13 a.m. No footsteps. No wind. Just that soft, steady opening. I sat in the dark, trying not to move. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Soft. Familiar. Then a voice. "Ava?" I didn't answer. "It's me. Aunt Kim. I had to go out earlier, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left you here." The footsteps got closer. "There's something here." It got inside. "I need your help locking it down." I didn't move. I knew the real Aunt Kim was gone, and I knew the thing didn't like being ignored. "Please," the voice said again, cracking now, desperate. "You're in danger," then louder, angrier. "Ava!" Silence, then a knock on the window, just like before. Once. Pause. 3 short. I turned away from the sound, put my hands over my ears. The floor creaked behind me, something heavy breathing at my back, but I didn't speak, didn't run, and after a moment, it was gone. Morning came. She found me curled up on the living room floor. She helped me up without saying a word. 2 days later, child services showed up. Someone, probably a local store clerk who hadn't seen her in months, finally got worried and made a report. They asked who I was, what I was doing there, took me into their car. She didn't fight it, just stood on the porch and waved once, not smiling. Not crying, just resigned, like she'd known this moment was coming for a long time. They told me she wasn't really my aunt, that she'd taken me without legal guardianship, that she was mentally unwell and had fabricated my entire time there. The house was condemned. Woods cleared eventually. Journalists tried to make a story out of it, the woman who lived off-grid with a stolen child. But the story faded when they couldn't find anything truly criminal. And I was placed in a foster home 2 towns over, then another, but no one asked me the right questions. No one asked if I still heard my name whispered at night, if I caught my reflection blinking when I didn't, if I dreamed of copies, and I did. Every night, the girl in the woods, the footsteps behind the trees, the voices, mine, hers, its. I'm 24 now. Live in a loud city in a tall building with no woods in sight. Plenty of mirrors. Plenty of lights, but I still keep one closet locked, because sometimes I hear knocking from inside it. And last week I got a package. No return address. Just a photograph, a girl, 12 years old, my old hoodie, smiling wide in a clearing. Behind her in the blur was a tall figure, and it was still wearing Aunt Kim's face. The first time I saw the kid in the window, I didn't think much of it. I had just moved into this rental a week earlier, one of those post-divorce, start-over situations. Cheap place, quiet neighborhood, lots of middle-aged joggers and dogs named after wine. It felt safe enough. The house next door looked like all the others. Beige siding, old shutters, lawn a little too perfect. But around 7:06 a.m., just as I was pouring my first coffee of the day, I noticed a little boy standing at the second-floor window, directly across from mine. Not waving. Not moving, just staring straight at me. He looked about 7. Pale skin, dark hair, just still. For a second I thought maybe he was pressed against the glass. Then I realized he wasn't blinking, or breathing, or anything. I laughed it off. Must have been a mannequin or something, a weird little Halloween leftover someone forgot to take down. But when I looked again 5 minutes later, he was gone. The next morning, same thing. 6 a.m. on the dot, kid in the window. No movement. No change in posture. It was too specific to be random. I mean, same time, same place, same blank face. That's when I started watching more carefully. Day 3. There. Day 4. There. Day 5. There. But his head was slightly tilted to the left. Day 6. He wasn't there, but the window was open. Just a crack. I should have ignored it. But I don't know. Something about that blank expression got under my skin. I'd been in a weird headspace already, trying to rebuild a routine, settle in. Maybe I was just craving a distraction, so I asked around, caught a neighbor while she was unloading groceries and casually mentioned the house. "Oh, the Murphy's place," she said. "Yeah, they're weird. Real quiet. They have a kid, right?" She blinked. "No, just the 2 of them. Retired, I think." I must have looked confused because she added, "Why?" I mumbled something about hearing a kid's voice and played it off, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. If they didn't have a kid, who the hell was in that window? I started recording every morning. Just my phone set up against the coffee maker, angled toward the window. I figured I'd catch him, get a clearer look, maybe see him move. Day 1, there. Day 2, there. Day 3, there. Then he turned his head mid-recording, just a small movement. Barely noticeable unless you were watching frame by frame, but he turned. And it wasn't random. He turned to look at the phone like he knew. I stopped recording after that. Something about it, I don't know. It felt wrong, like I was inviting something in I didn't understand. I tried to tell myself it was some elaborate prank. Maybe the neighbors were playing with me, or I was catching a reflection, sleep-deprived hallucinations. But then things started happening inside my house. It started small. Lights flickering at 7:06 a.m. My bedroom window rattling for a second, even though the weather was calm. Once I came downstairs and all the cabinet doors were open. The worst part? My coffee was already brewed, like someone had done it for me. I finally worked up the nerve to knock on the neighbor's door. It was late afternoon. Sun out, birds chirping, the least creepy time possible. The woman who answered looked like she hadn't slept in days. Stringy gray hair, shaking hands. Before I could even say a word, she cut me off. "You've seen him, haven't you?" I froze. "You shouldn't look. He likes to be seen." She slammed the door. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound in the house felt louder. My fridge buzzed too long. My sink creaked. My bed frame popped, and at 7:06 a.m. I looked. I couldn't help it. There he was, same blank face. Same dead eyes, but this time, he smiled. I dropped my mug. It shattered on the floor, coffee burning my ankle. I jumped back and looked again, gone, window empty, curtains drawn. I wanted to believe I imagined the smile. But the next day there was a note taped to my front door. No envelope. Just a single piece of lined notebook paper. All caps, "Do not look at him when he smiles," no name. No handwriting I recognized. But the note smelled faintly like clay. And iron, like something pulled out of the ground. I stopped looking after that, pulled the blinds down. Set alarms to wake up after 7:06. Forced myself not to peek. It worked. For a little while, until the knocking started. First time was soft. Barely there, just 3 taps on my bedroom wall. Not the window, the wall. Then again, 2 days later. Same spot, then again. Louder. One night I pressed my ear to the drywall, heart racing. Nothing, until I heard him whisper, "Why'd you stop looking?" I screamed. Called the police. They came, checked the property, humored me when I asked if someone could get into the walls. They found nothing. No footprints. No signs of entry. No reason for me to be afraid. I didn't tell them about the boy. Or the smile. I could barely say it out loud without feeling like it would hear me. I started noticing other things. Streetlights outside my house flickering only when I walked under them. Emails in my inbox I didn't remember sending. All drafts, all blank. And every night, just before bed, a feeling like someone had just left the room, like I'd missed something. One night I found a smudge on my bedroom mirror. Looked like a small handprint, but it was on the inside. I finally caved and knocked on the Murphy's door again. This time the man answered. He looked worse than his wife, like he hadn't eaten in days. Deep-set eyes, pale skin, shoulders hunched. "You looked again, didn't you?" He said. I didn't answer. "He's not a boy," he said. "He was once. A long time ago, but he's not anymore." I opened my mouth, trying to form words, but nothing came out. "He shows up to people who are alone," he continued. "He waits. Picks one window. And if you look too long, if you notice him, he notices you back. Then what?" I whispered. He closed his eyes. Then he waits for you to smile. That night I bolted all my windows shut, covered the mirrors, played loud music just to drown out the silence. But right before midnight I woke up to the sound of the shower running. I live alone. I crept toward the bathroom, holding my phone like a weapon. Steam poured out under the door. I reached for the handle, but then I saw it. In the mirror on the hallway wall, a child-sized figure standing behind me, smiling. I didn't open the bathroom door. I couldn't. I just stood there in the hallway, frozen, staring at the mirror where he stood behind me. Only, when I turned around, there was no one there. Just steam. Silence. The faint drip of water behind the door. The reflection was gone. But that moment changed something in me. The fear wasn't just in my head anymore. It had weight now, Mass, this thing had a presence, a body. I left the house for the first time in 3 days. Got in my car, drove 2 towns over, didn't even tell anyone where I was going. I stayed in a hotel, a bland one, beige walls, free breakfast, cable that never worked. It felt safe for a while, until I woke up at 7:06 a.m. and saw him standing in the parking lot. Facing my window, I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just sat on the edge of the bed watching him watch me, trying to understand what he wanted, or what I had done to bring him with me. But he didn't move, didn't wave, didn't blink, and then I made the mistake I was warned not to make. I smiled, just reflexively, a pathetic, nervous half-smile, like I was trying to show him I wasn't scared. That I meant no harm. His mouth twitched and he smiled back. The window cracked, a tiny spider line split across the glass, like it had been tapped from inside. I packed my stuff in 2 minutes flat and left without checking out. Back at the house, everything felt wrong. The air was too still, the light too dim. Even though it was only afternoon, the house felt sealed off, like someone had covered the whole thing in thick plastic wrap. I didn't unpack. I just stood in the middle of the living room, staring up at the ceiling like I expected to hear footsteps above me. Instead, I heard laughter. Not loud, not childish, just a dry exhale, stretched too long to be human. I started taping up the windows, newspaper, towels, trash bags, duct tape. I didn't want light, didn't want reflections, didn't want eyes. I even unplugged my TV, because for 3 nights in a row the screen had turned itself on at exactly 7:06 a.m. Static, just static, until a face flickered into view for half a second. His same blank stare, same soft smile, same impossible stillness. I called the Murphys one last time. I didn't care if I sounded crazy. I needed answers. The wife answered this time. Her voice was hoarse, like she hadn't spoken in days. "You let him smile, didn't you?" I didn't respond. "You smiled first." "That's how he gets in." My throat tightened. "What happens now?" "Now he watches. And waits. And you'll start to forget what's real." She paused, then added barely above a whisper, "If you hear your own voice behind you, don't turn around." I hung up. I didn't leave the house again after that, didn't eat, didn't sleep properly. I sat in the kitchen with every light on, wrapped in a blanket, eyes glued to the one window I hadn't taped over, the one above the sink. And at 7:06 a.m., the window froze over. Middle of spring. No cold front. Just a perfect layer of white frost from the inside of the glass. I stood up slowly, and as I leaned closer, a small handprint appeared in the frost, not moving, just pressed flat against the glass, then another, then a third. Too high to belong to a child, I ran upstairs into the bathroom, slammed the door. My heart was pounding so loud I couldn't hear anything else. I crouched in the tub, clutching a towel like it could protect me. And then from outside the bathroom door, I heard my own voice say, "It's okay. It's gone now. You can come out." I didn't move, not for an hour. When I finally opened the door, there was no one there. Just a single page from a children's book, sitting on the floor, a drawing of a little boy in a blue hoodie, standing at a window, smiling. The page was torn in half. I started losing time after that. I'd wake up in places I didn't remember falling asleep, find bruises on my arms in the shape of fingers. One night I woke up outside, curled up under the tree in my backyard, barefoot, freezing, keys still in my pocket. I hadn't opened the door, hadn't unlocked the deadbolt. I bought trail cameras, set them up facing every door and window, downloaded the footage religiously, reviewed every minute, and one morning I found it. 7:17 a.m. my front door opens. Nothing comes in, just opens. Then, exactly 1 minute later, it closes. And for half a second, right before the door shuts, the hallway light flickers. And there's a second me, standing at the end of the hall, not moving, not blinking, just watching me sleep. I don't remember letting anything in. I don't remember smiling, but the camera doesn't lie. The voice inside my walls started getting louder, not always mine now. Sometimes it sounded like my mom, sometimes like my ex, sometimes like the little boy, always saying the same thing. "Why'd you stop looking?" I stopped eating, not on purpose. Just forgot I didn't feel hunger, didn't feel anything really. It's like the more I saw him, the more he took. Attention, energy, memory. I caught myself speaking in the mirror once. having a conversation, but I don't remember what I said. Just that the reflection didn't match my mouth. It was saying something else. One night, I found a piece of notebook paper slipped under my pillow. Same handwriting as before. You let him smile. Now he's learning to be you. You're the one in the window now. The next morning, I looked out my window at 7:06 a.m. I couldn't help it. And across the street, where he used to stand, I saw myself. Same pajamas. Same bedhead. Same scar under my left eye. Standing still. Smiling. Not moving. I blinked, and she was gone. But when I turned around, all the mirrors in my house had fogged over, and someone had written a message in the condensation. Don't forget which one you are. I don't think I'm me anymore. At least, not all the time. Sometimes I find sticky notes I don't remember writing, phone calls I don't remember making. People I know look at me like they're waiting for me to say something I've forgotten. And every time I close my eyes, I see that window. Empty now, waiting. I started keeping a notebook, not for journaling, I mean for proof. Proof that I was still me. I wrote the date, what I ate, what I wore, what I remembered doing. Every detail, no matter how small, because things were starting to slide. Like my life had gotten stuck between two overlapping copies. Some days I'd find the notebook with someone else's handwriting in it. Same pen, same format. But none of the memories were mine. Woke up at 6:48, toast, black coffee. Watched her sleep. Saw her blink this time. Almost smiled back. I don't remember writing any of that. But it's in my notebook. The mirrors fog up on their own now. Even when the air is dry. Even when the heat's off, I wipe them down and the message is always the same. Which one are you? And worse, I don't always recognize my reflection. Sometimes the version of me on the other side moves slightly too late. Or doesn't move at all. Just smiles. I tried calling my sister. I hadn't spoken to her since the divorce, but I was desperate. She answered on the third ring. Jesus, Liv, you sound like hell. Have you seen anything strange? I asked. There was a long pause. What kind of strange? A kid in the window. Watching you, another pause. Then Liv, are you still in that house? What do you mean still? She exhaled, shaky. Then quietly, I saw him too. Years ago, back when I lived in Denver. My stomach flipped. You never told me. You were too young, and I didn't want you looking. Did he smile? No, she whispered. Because I didn't either. What happened to him? Another silence. He moved on. After I moved out. But he left something behind. What? My voice. Sometimes late at night my husband hears it in the basement. Talking, saying things I never said. She paused. Liv, if you smiled, it's already learning. Learning what? How to be you. That was the last time we spoke. A week later I got a text from her number. No words. Just a photo of me, standing in front of my bedroom window, smiling. I hadn't taken it. I stopped leaving the house. Not because I was scared of what was out there, but because I didn't know if I would be the one coming back there. Were mornings I woke up with muddy footprints on the carpet, shoes still by the door, nails packed with dirt, windows locked from the inside, but open on the outside. And once, just once, I woke up standing in front of the neighbor's house. Looking in, I tried burning the notebook, built a little fire in the sink, tossed the pages in one by one. They curled, blackened, disappeared. But the next morning, the notebook was back on my nightstand, open to a new page. She thinks it's working. She thinks I don't know what she knows. She's smiling again. I ripped down the boards, pulled open the blinds, opened every window in the house, let in air, light, noise. I thought maybe he only existed in silence, in darkness, in stillness. But he thrives in attention, because the second I looked out, there he was, standing at the foot of the driveway. Head tilted, hands at his sides, still wearing that blue hoodie, still smiling, but this time, he waved. The doorbell rang 2 hours later. I didn't answer. I just stood behind it, holding my breath. Then something slid through the mail slot. A Polaroid. No note. No handwriting, just a photo of me. Asleep, in my bed. Taken from inside the room. I stopped fighting after that. Something in me broke open, not like a snap, More like a slow, soft collapse. Like I stopped being solid. Days passed. Maybe weeks. I'm not sure. I couldn't remember the last time I ate. Or left the bed. I slept too long. Dreamed too deep, and when I woke up, things were rearranged. The furniture. The photos on the fridge. The contents of the closet. Like someone was practicing. Figuring out how to live here. I found another version of my notebook. Not mine. This one was neater. Tighter handwriting. Calculated. It listed my schedule. 30 a.m. Wake. 6:32 a.m. Stare at window. 6:34 a.m. Look away. 7:06 a.m. Heartbeat spikes. 7:07 a.m. She forgets what day it is, and at the bottom of the page, as she goes quiet. 8:01 a.m. I smile. I started seeing her again. The me that isn't me. In reflections. In dreams. Sometimes in the windows of parked cars. Once I caught her in a video call. A frozen frame in the corner, smiling while I was speaking. She's better at being me than I am. More polite. More focused. More consistent. She doesn't forget things. She doesn't fall apart. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what he's doing. Taking messy people and refining them. Replacing us with quieter, neater, emptier versions. Ones that stay still. Ones that don't ask questions. I looked out the window this morning. 6 a.m. There was nothing outside. No kid, no figure, no me. Just wind moving through the trees. For a second, I felt relief, but then I turned and saw myself standing in the hallway mirror. No expression, just waiting. I walked closer, touched the glass, and she did the same, perfectly mirrored. But then I blinked, and she didn't. She just smiled. I don't know if I'm writing this as me anymore. I still feel like myself. But that doesn't mean anything now. She's inside everything. The mirror, the screens, my voice. The house is still. The air is dry. And every night at 7:06 a.m., the world pauses, like it's holding its breath, waiting to see which version of me wakes up. I think she's winning. No, I think I've already lost. Last night, I found a new note taped to the inside of my closet door. It was in my handwriting, but I didn't write it. I'm not the girl in the window anymore. You are. This morning, my neighbor waved at me through his kitchen window. I waved back, smiled. But when I looked in the mirror, I wasn't waving, I wasn't smiling, I wasn't there. If you ever see a child staring from a window and they don't blink, don't look back. Because once you see him, he's already deciding which version of you he wants to keep. The first time I saw the chalk mark, I thought it was a kid messing around. Just a single white line, short, clean, drawn right in front of my door. Not on the door itself, not on the wall, on the floor. Like a small tally, pressed into the hardwood of the narrow hallway that connects the 2 units of my duplex. I rent the left half. 302A. The right side, 302B, has been empty since I moved in a month ago. So who made the mark? No idea. I wiped it off with my sock. Didn't think much of it. But the next morning there were 2 marks. Same spot. Parallel, short white lines drawn in the hallway, both pointing toward my door. I crouched down, ran my fingers across them. They weren't scratches. They weren't paint. Definitely chalk. The kind that rubs off a little when you touch it. I wiped them away again, went to work. Came home, slept. The next morning, 3 marks. That's when I started to worry. There were no kids in the building. I'd seen maybe 3 tenants total in this place, and none lived on my floor. The landlord had said 302B would stay vacant until winter renovations. So, unless someone was breaking in to draw these things every night, it was happening. From inside, I set up my phone in the hallway, camera mode, propped against a water bottle, pointed straight at my door, hit record at 2 a.m. before bed. I figured if this was a prank, I'd catch them. When I checked the footage the next morning, it cut off at 2:47 a.m. before that. Nothing, just the hallway, quiet. Still. Then the screen glitched. The picture froze, just stuck on one frame, then stopped recording. The audio kept going, though. That's the part that got to me. About a minute before the video glitched, I heard a faint scrape, like chalk dragging on hardwood, then silence. Then a whisper so soft I almost missed it. 3. I replayed it over and over. It wasn't my voice. Not male, not deep. Just breathy, like someone speaking through dust. I threw my phone across the room. That day I checked the hallway. Nothing. But at 3 a.m. I woke up suddenly. No noise. No dreams. Just the urge to check. I opened my door, and there it was. 4 marks, perfectly lined up, leading right to my threshold. I asked the landlord about it. He laughed. Probably one of the neighbors playing games. You said no one lives in 302B. Right. I meant maybe from another floor. I pressed harder. Is there a crawl space between the units? Any way someone could get in? He gave me a look. You're not the first tenant to ask weird questions like this. Then he walked away. Not the first? What did that mean? That night I taped a thread across my doorframe. Clear string, tight just above ankle height, barely visible, and I lined the inside of the door with baking flour. Just enough to catch footprints. I didn't sleep. I stayed in bed, pretending to breathe slow, pretending not to listen. Nothing until 3:08 a.m., when I heard a soft knock. Not on my door. From the wall. 3 knocks. Spaced. Deliberate. I held my breath. Didn't move. But the floor creaked, softly, just outside. When I finally opened the door, maybe 10 minutes later, the hallway was empty. The thread was broken, and the marks? 5. I called the police the next morning. They came, looked around, wrote a report like they were just humoring me. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints. No evidence of a break-in. I showed them the chalk marks. They took a photo, shrugged, and said, "Probably maintenance. Contractors mark walls and floors all the time." At 3 in the morning? I asked. They didn't answer. They left. I stayed in that day. Didn't go to work. Just sat by the peephole watching the hallway. No one came by. No sounds. No knocks, but that night, something changed. I heard movement inside 302B. Soft footsteps. Shuffling. A creak of something heavy being dragged. I put my ear to the shared wall. Heard breathing. Not loud. Not angry. Just present. Like someone standing with their head pressed to the other side. I knocked once, the breathing stopped. Then found from the other side of the wall. 6. I backed away from the wall. Locked myself in my bedroom. Slept with the light on at 7 a.m. I opened the front door. 6 marks. One of them was slightly longer, like it had been drawn slower. Deliberate. I asked the landlord again if anyone had moved into 302B. He said no. Looked me in the eye when he said it, but he was pale, sweating. He handed me a printed copy of my lease agreement. I scanned it, confused until I saw the fine print. Shared access to crawl space between units is not permitted for tenants. Use restricted to management personnel only. There's a crawl space between the units, and no one told me. That night I found the hatch, in the back of my hallway closet, behind a nailed-in panel. When I pried it off, there it was, a square cutout in the drywall, leading to a narrow space between 302A and 302B cobwebs. Dust, pipes, just big enough to crawl through, and someone had. The dust was disturbed. A thin trail had been cleared down the middle, like someone belly-crawled through, dragging themselves by their elbows. The trail led toward 302B. I didn't go in. Not yet. I nailed the panel back, didn't sleep. At 3:21 a.m., I heard scratching behind the closet wall, followed by the soft sound of chalk being dragged across, hardwood, and a whisper. 7. I didn't check the hallway the next morning. Didn't want to see it, but I already knew. I felt it. 7 marks. 7 nights something was counting down, or up, and I had no idea what happened when it reached the end. I didn't go to work. Didn't eat. Didn't sleep. I just sat at the door with a hammer in my lap, staring at the hallway through the peephole. It was empty. But I knew the second I looked away, the chalk marks would change again. They weren't just some prank anymore. They weren't random, they were counting. The question was, to what? That evening, I left a note on the door to 302B. Just 4 words. Who are you really? I knocked once and walked away. I didn't expect an answer, but at 2:48 a.m. I got one, not a knock. Not a voice. A reply note slid under my door in the same handwriting. Mine. I'm just waiting. You're almost ready. The next morning, I found 8 chalk marks, but not all of them were next to each other now. 7 were in a row. The 8th was a few feet ahead, just off center, like it had stepped forward, like it was leading. I finally called my brother. I hadn't told anyone what was going on until that point. I was afraid they'd write me off, call it stress or trauma or post-divorce unraveling. But I couldn't do this alone anymore. You still in that old duplex? He asked. Yeah. That place always felt off. You still next to the unit that never gets rented? My heart skipped. How did you know it never gets rented? He hesitated. When I helped you move in, I asked the landlord about it. He told me it's used for storage. It's not. What do you mean? There's someone in there. He said he'd come over that weekend. Maybe crash on the couch for a few nights. But I already knew it was too late. I was too deep. This wasn't just about noise, or trespassing, or chalk. This was something else. That night I opened the closet again, the panel behind the coats, the crawlspace door. This time I went in. The air was dry, heavy. It smelled like dust and rust and something deeper, like wet paper and old breath. I crawled through the narrow gap, flashlight trembling in my hand. After a few feet, I found the first sign, a drawing taped to the inside of the wall. Crude, childlike, stick figures. One figure stood between 2 boxes labeled A and B. Lines extended from the walls. Curling around the figure like arms, it was titled, "The One Who Stays." I kept crawling. Found more drawings, more marks. Handprints in the dust and small ones, like a child's. One of them overlapped mine perfectly. By the time I reached the opposite end, directly behind the wall of 302B, I could see light. A tiny hole drilled through the drywall, just big enough to see into the unit. I pressed my eye to it. The apartment was empty. No furniture, no curtains, just hardwood floor, bare walls, and dozens of chalk tally marks covering the floorboards, some grouped, some long, some crooked, and in the far corner, a figure not standing, not moving, crouched, back to me, breathing, slow, steady, its head tilted, like it was listening. I crawled backwards so fast I scraped my palms raw, got out, slammed the panel shut, nailed it closed, dragged a shelf in front of it. Didn't sleep. At 3 a.m., the shelf shifted an inch on its own. The next morning, the chalk marks had changed again. Now there were 9, but they didn't look like tally marks anymore. They looked like steps. I started hearing tapping inside the walls during the day, always in 3s. Then 4s, then back to 1, no rhythm, no meaning, just noise, like it was trying to confuse me. Then came the whispers, not words, just my own name, said the way I hear it in my head, the way no one else says it. I asked the landlord, again, if he knew anything about 302B. His expression changed. He asked if I'd been in the crawl space. I didn't answer. Then he said this. Some places don't need ghosts to be haunted. They haunt themselves. People like you, quiet, alone, you bring out the math in a place like that. What math? Marks, counts, choices, you'll see. Then he left, and I don't think I'll ever see him again. Later that day, someone knocked on my door. I froze. 3 knocks. Soft. I looked through the peephole. A man stood there, middle-aged, thin, dressed neatly, but something about his posture. It was too still, like he'd been placed there. I didn't open the door. He slid something under it. Another note. 10. Getting closer. Someone has to stay. I opened the door. The hallway was empty except the chalk marks had split into 2 rows, one leading to my door, the other leading away from it, toward 302B. Like a choice, like a fork, I ripped them up with a rag. Scrubbed until my knees ached. But the next morning, both rows were back and longer. Each now had 11 marks. That night, I saw myself in the mirror. Blurry. Delayed. I lifted my hand, and my reflection was half a second behind. I whispered my own name, and something whispered it back a beat later. I unplugged the mirror, covered it with a blanket, and then I saw it, written in chalk on the wall above my bed. 12. I tried to leave the next morning. Grabbed my bag, keys, got to the door, but when I opened it, the hallway was different, longer, like the walls had stretched. The exit was still there, the stairwell at the end, but it looked farther away. And in the middle of the hallway, between me and the exit, stood a chalk outline, a door, drawn onto the floor, with a mark above it. 13. I stepped back inside, shut the door, sat down, because I realized something. The marks aren't counting down or up. They're counting through me, through time, through days, through copies, and one day soon, one of us is going to open the wrong door. I haven't left the apartment in 5 days. The hallway doesn't feel like mine anymore. The walls breathe. The floor stretches. The air feels thick, like something just walked through it and forgot to leave. The marks are still there. Both rows, one leading to my door, the other still winding toward 302B. This morning, each row had 14. No matter how many I scrub away, they come back longer and slower, like they're dragging something behind them. I boarded the door shut, screwed wood planks across it like I was sealing myself inside during a hurricane. But the chalk kept coming. Now it shows up inside, on my floor, my bedroom wall, the ceiling, and always the same. Tally marks, always more. I don't sleep anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I feel my body shifting, like something's trying me on. I wake up with the lights turned off when I swear I left them on. My fridge rearranged. Photos on my phone taken from strange angles, like I'm being watched from floor level, like someone is crawling around my apartment when I'm not looking. The whispering doesn't stop. Sometimes it's my name, sometimes it's numbers. Last night, it was a full sentence, whispered directly into my left ear as I was lying in bed. She left the door open for me. I bolted up. My closet was open. I don't have a closet. The drawings have returned, taped to walls, folded under my pillow. Inside the fridge, they're more detailed now, less childish. One shows me standing in front of the door to 302B, holding my own hand, smiling, while a shadow with long arms reaches from the floor, drawing chalk lines in front of us. Another shows 2 of me sleeping side by side in the same bed, while a third version of me stands at the foot of the mattress, watching. In one, the hallway never ends. It's just me walking forever while the tally marks curve along the wall like a spine. At 2:13 a.m. last night, someone knocked. Not on the door. From inside the wall, 5 slow knocks. I didn't move. I just whispered, "No," and something on the other side whispered back, "That's not your word to say." I found the hatch open again this morning, the closet panel, even though I'd sealed it shut with 6-inch nails. The wood was splintered, like it had been peeled open from inside. There were chalk footprints in my hallway, bare, small, leading to my bedroom, nailed the hatch shut again. But I already know it doesn't matter. There's more than one version of this house now, more than one version of me, and one of them is already on the other side. I finally crawled back, through the space. I don't know why. Desperation, curiosity, a need for resolution, for meaning, but there was nothing there. No crouched figure, no furniture, just chalk marks covering every inch of 302B's floor, overlapping, multiplying, recursive, thousands of them. And in the center, one word written in all caps, "Stay." I crawled back, or I thought I did. But something's wrong. The hallway's different. The pictures on my wall are crooked, off by an inch. The numbers on the oven blink wrong. The floorboards creak in the wrong spots, and worst of all, there's no chalk outside my door. I ran to the mirror. My reflection smiled first. I didn't. I screamed. I threw things, shattered every mirror, burned the drawings, ripped up the floorboards until my hands bled. But no matter what I destroy, she's still here, smiling through the windows. Standing in the doorway when I blink too long, drawing new tally marks when I look away. Tonight I found another version of the notebook, not mine, not the copies, someone else's, written in blocky, panicked handwriting. Half the pages torn out. Heard breathing again. Still only one exit. Marks won't stop. They never stop. Every time I choose to leave, I wake up back here. If you find this, don't look at the fork. Don't pick a side. Too late, the marks forked weeks ago, and whichever path I took, it brought me deeper. At 3 a.m., I opened the door. No more hallway, just a room full of doors, each one identical, each one marked in chalk. 1, 2, 3, 4, each with a single tally slash, all pointing inward, all pointing at me. I stepped through, the only one without a number, and now I'm here. Same apartment, same furniture, same view from the window, but everything feels one layer removed, like I'm inside a copy of the copy. And there's chalk on the ceiling now. Just one mark. Tomorrow, I know there'll be 2, and after that, 3, until it wraps all the way around the room like a halo or a noose. I don't know what happens when it completes the circle, but I know what happened to the last tenant, the one before me, and the one before them. I found their notes, I found their drawings, and I found their last message scratched into the underside of my bed frame. The one who stays becomes the hallway. I hear footsteps in the walls, my voice calling my name. The mirror is fogging again. And on the surface, just one word. 30. I'm out of space, out of exits. I've circled the apartment 4 times, tried every door, every drawer, every code I know. All the paths lead back to here, to the center, to the waiting. I don't think I live here anymore. I think I'm what lives in the hallway. The next person who moves in, they'll see the marks, 1, then 2, then 3. They'll hear the knocks, and one night they'll whisper through the wall, "Who's there?" And I'll whisper back, 4. The party started on a Thursday. I just moved into apartment 3C, top floor corner unit, decent price, tiny balcony, decent view. It was quiet at first, real quiet, then came the music. Not loud, just constant. It started around 8 p.m. and didn't stop, not even a dip in volume. Like someone had a playlist set on loop and forgot about it. Muffled bass like through cheap speakers. Laughter sometimes. Footsteps above. Then silence for a second, followed by the same bass drop all over again. At first I thought, okay, maybe it's college kids. A housewarming. Nothing weird about that until it kept going. The next night, same thing. Exact same time. Same music. Same pattern, only this time, I noticed something strange. The party was coming from apartment 4C. There is no apartment. 4C. The building only has 3 floors. Asked my super the next morning. You sure it was coming from 4C? Yeah, directly above me. That's the roof, exactly. He stared at me for a second too long, then forced a laugh. Old pipes. Sometimes they echo weird. Right echoes that laugh and play music at the same time every night. Saturday night it started again. 8:03 p.m. on the dot. I decided to knock. If it was someone pulling a prank, maybe a rooftop speaker or whatever, I wanted to see it myself. I climbed the stairs. Past the 3rd floor, and there it was. A 4th floor landing. I swear to God it hadn't been there before. Carpeted. Beige. Same light fixtures. 1 door, no signage. No number. Just a black door with a peephole and one of those gold handles. I knocked. Once the music stopped. Faded, stopped. Like someone yanked a plug. Out of the wall, I backed away. No one answered. No. One opened the door, just silence. I turned around and walked down the stairs. Fast. When I reached the 3rd floor again, I looked back. There were only 3 flights, no 4th floor landing. I didn't sleep that night. Around 1:47 a.m., the music came back, but softer, slower, like it was playing from inside my apartment. The next day I walked the building, top to bottom, counted windows, doors, steps, everything. There was no 4th floor, but I remembered it. The hallway, the door, the carpet under my shoes, I could still smell it. That artificial citrus cleaner they use in motels and hospitals. Monday morning I woke up to a sticky note on my fridge. You're invited. 8:03 p.m., ring twice, no signature. Same gold lettering as the door handle. I went to work, tried to shake it off. Told myself maybe I was dreaming, stress, hallucinating, whatever. But as the day wore on, I started noticing something strange. Everyone around me had earbuds in, on the bus, at the office, in the coffee shop. Every single person I passed, and if I listened closely, they were all listening to the same song, the one from the party. I skipped the gym, went home early, closed the blinds, put my phone in a drawer. At 8:03, I heard the music again, above me, clear as ever. I turned off all my lights and just sat in the dark, trying to stay invisible. Then my doorbell rang, twice. I didn't answer. I sat there, barely breathing, as something moved outside the door. Heavy steps, slippered, like someone dragging their feet. Then a voice. Hi, sweet, playful. Come on. Don't be rude. Everyone's already here. Then silence. When I finally opened the door 20 minutes later, there was nothing on the mat except a party hat, blue paper, glitter trim, my name written across it in perfect cursive. Tuesday morning, my neighbor from across the hall stopped me in the stairwell. You hear that music again? I nodded. Weirdest thing, she said. I've lived here 6 years, never heard a peep. Last night? Whole place was alive. Like college again? You saw the 4th floor? She frowned. What 4th floor? I stared at her. You didn't go up. She gave a tight smile and turned away. Anyway, see you around. But she wasn't wearing shoes, just socks, like she'd come from inside. I skipped work. I set up cameras. One in the hallway, one on my balcony, one pointing at the ceiling. I left them running all night. At 8:03, the music started again. This time I didn't move. I watched the timestamp roll past midnight. Then 1:12, 2:07. Silence. I checked the hallway footage first, nothing for hours, then suddenly people, flickering in from nowhere. Like bad video rendering, all wearing party clothes, velvet sequins, gold shoes, champagne flutes in hand. No faces. Just shapes. Like the camera couldn't quite hold on to them. Then they turned, in unison, and stared at my door. The hallway light flickered. Then they vanished. On the ceiling cam, dust falling, light vibration, then a frame-by-frame flicker of a door above me opening, even though there is no door above me, even though there's no apartment above mine, just the roof. I turned off all the cameras. Don't want to see what happens when I'm not looking. Wednesday, I stayed home, didn't answer texts, didn't check emails, didn't go near the stairs. At 8:02 p.m., I locked myself in the bathroom and ran the shower to drown out the sound. Still heard it. Faint, muffled laughter. Glass breaking. Someone shouting, "This one's new." Then I heard my own name chanted, "One of us, one of us, one of us." I woke up at 2:40 a.m. in bed, fully dressed, shoes on, key in my pocket, a party wristband on my arm, gold printed with one word, admitted. I cut the wristband off the second I saw it. It didn't come off easy. The gold foil dug into my skin like it didn't want to let go. When it finally snapped, my wrist was raw. A red line wrapping around the bone like a warning. I didn't remember going anywhere. I didn't remember unlocking the door, but I was fully dressed, phone in my pocket, and the smell of champagne on my breath. The voicemail came an hour later. Unknown number, no message, just muffled audio. At first I thought it was static. Then I listened closer. It was the party, same music, same laughs, same voice I'd heard outside my door. Come back up. You looked great last night. Click. I packed a bag. Tried to leave. I didn't even make it down the stairs. I swear I took the steps to the lobby and passed the 2nd floor, then the 1st. But when I pushed through the door, I was on the 4th floor, again, carpet underfoot. Same golden handle on the black door. Same faint music, muffled now like someone had put a pillow over a speaker. I backed up slowly, turned around. The stairs were gone. Behind me, just wall. I blinked, and I was back in my apartment, keys in hand. Front door still locked, my bag gone, just me, just silence. Except for the music bleeding softly through the ceiling again. Right on time. 3 p.m. I made a rule that night. No more stairs. Didn't matter which direction I went. Up, down, out. Somehow I always ended up back here. Sometimes I'd walk out my front door and find a hallway I didn't recognize. Different wallpaper. Dimmer lights. Windows looking out onto places I've never seen. One night I opened the bathroom mirror cabinet and found a shot glass tucked behind the Bandages half full, lined. With gold around the rim, I don't know how long it's been, the days blur. My phone never gets a signal now. The clock in my kitchen resets every morning to 8:03. The only food in the fridge is party leftovers. Shrimp skewers, mini quiches, half a bottle of rosé. I didn't buy any of it. Sometimes I hear my own voice on the other side of the wall, laughing. Last night I taped the window shut, taped over the door seams, turned off all the lights. At 8:03 the music didn't come from above. It came from inside the walls, low, thumping, and along with it. Breathing, slow, rhythmic, like someone leaning against the drywall waiting. I plugged my ears, closed my eyes, hummed until I passed out. I dreamed of gold confetti, a spinning room, hands touching my face, a voice whispering, "Almost time." I woke up wearing someone else's shoes. I started marking the walls, tally marks. One for each night I survived. I'm at 24, or 25. Some of the marks smudge when I touch them, like they've been drawn over and over by different hands, and a few are crossed out. I didn't do that. I found another note this morning, taped to the ceiling. Directly above my bed, "We like how you move. Almost time for your number." Below it, drawn in red ink, 3C, 4C, or 1 of USI, don't know what that means. But the hallway outside smells like alcohol and hairspray again, and the lights flicker in sync with the beat. At 8:03 tonight, I heard the door upstairs open even though there is no upstairs, and a voice said, "Just one dance." I closed my eyes, but my feet were tapping. I wasn't doing it. I swear to God, they just moved, like the rhythm had gotten inside my blood. And then I saw something written across the bottom of my mirror in lipstick. "You were great last night." I smashed the mirror. Now every reflective surface in the apartment shows different versions of me. One smiling, one dancing, one staring at the ceiling like something's about to come through it. This morning, I woke up in the elevator. No idea how I got there, but the button panel had new numbers, up to 6 now. I pressed 1. The doors opened to a hallway I've never seen. Marble floors, chandeliers, guests in tuxedos drifting through shadows. A woman stepped forward and handed me a card. White, embossed, "Tonight at 8:03, formal only. We saved you a drink." Back in my apartment, my closet was full of suits, none of them mine. One of them still had a tag. Tailored fit. I'm wearing it now, I don't remember putting it on. But it fits perfectly. I think tonight's the night. They've been preparing me, feeding me, dressing me, testing the edges of my mind, and now, the party's inside. I can feel it behind the wall. Someone humming under the floorboards, laughter under the sink, glitter in my coffee. They want me to open the door, not the front one, the other one, the one I dream about. The one that only appears when I'm about to fall asleep. Painted gold, no handle, a note pinned to it last time. Just say yes. I woke up at 7:58 p.m. I didn't set an alarm. My phone is dead. My clocks are frozen. But somehow my body knew. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, washed my face with water that smelled faintly like champagne. My reflection was already wearing the suit. Even though I swore I'd taken it off, there was glitter on my collar. I went to the closet, found a folded invitation on the top shelf. Same white card, raised gold ink, "Tonight, 8:03 p.m., sharp. No exit after entry. Dance until dissolution." There was no RSVP option. I walked to the door. Not the front door. Not the one I nailed shut with 3 boards and 2 deadbolts. That door was gone now. In its place, a hallway dimly lit. Walls pulsing to a slow, steady bass line. Smell of heat and sweat and something sweetly rotting. The music thumped behind the walls. Soft at first, but growing. I took a step forward, then another. There was no elevator, no stairwell, just that long hallway stretching on, lined with framed photographs, all of me, but not any version I remember. Me in a tuxedo, sipping champagne, me dancing with someone faceless, me holding up a glass in a room filled with strangers I didn't recognize, all with blurred faces. Me standing at a mic, giving a toast. To the new guest, the caption read, "To the one who stayed." The hallway ended at a black door, same one as before, no knob. No peephole, just gold trim. And music bleeding from the other side. I didn't knock, I just said, yes, and the door opened. The party hit me all at once. Heat, music, smell, light, dozens of people, hundreds maybe, packed into a massive ballroom with no walls, no ceiling. Just endless space lit by floating chandeliers. Everyone was laughing, dancing, eyes locked on me. There he is. Someone whispered. Finally, a hand grabbed mine, led me forward. Another handed me a glass. It was already full. I drank. Don't know what it was, but it tasted like memory. They pulled me into the crowd. Music surged. People spun around me. Velvet and glitter and teeth and gold. One woman leaned in close and whispered, "You were the easiest one yet." I turned to leave, but the door was gone. There was no entrance. No walls, just a sea of motion. Every face I passed looked like mine. Slight differences, older, younger, fatter, thinner, all smiling, all still dancing. Found a mirror in one corner. Massive, framed, in black vines. I stared into it. There were three of me in the reflection. One sipping, one spinning, one whispering into someone's ear. And none of them looked back. Someone clinked a glass. The music stopped. Silence fell like a guillotine. A voice, loud, formal, echoed through the room. "We welcome our newest member. Apartment 3C, finally present. May he dance with us forever." A cheer went up, and the music started again. Louder, faster, my feet moved on their own. I danced until the walls fell away, until the ceiling vanished, until my name didn't matter anymore, and still, I danced. Time passed, or maybe it didn't. I stopped counting, I stopped caring, I was one of them now. A face in the blur, another guest who never leaves. And now, someone else just moved into 3C. I saw him dragging a futon through the door. Same smile I had. The party's quiet for now. But at 8:03, the music will start, and I'll be right above him waiting with a glass in my hand. Once you hear the party next door, it's already begun, and it's not waiting for you to leave. It's waiting for you to join. The first time I saw her, I thought she was just sweet, a little weird. Sure, but harmless. It was my first week working the front desk at Stonehill Terrace, one of those old luxury-style buildings downtown. Think too much gold trim and weird-smelling carpet, but clean, classy. She came in around 6:45 p.m., right as I was logging out for the night. Pale blue sweater, long gray skirt, hair pinned back in this delicate bun. She looked maybe mid-60s, polite, smiled as soon as our eyes met. Never broke eye contact. "Good evening, dear," I smiled back. "Evening. Unit 507. She didn't ask anything. Didn't check in. Just said the number like I should know it. There was something too still about her. Too poised. But again, I thought maybe that was just old money. So I nodded. She smiled wider and walked to the elevator without a sound. That would have been it. A non-story. Just another eccentric resident. But the next night, same time, same sweater, same hair, same smile. "Good evening, dear. Unit 507. She didn't blink. I said nothing this time. Just watched her get in the elevator and disappear behind the mirrored doors. I asked my manager about her the next morning. Older woman, blue sweater, comes in around 6:45. He stared at me. "What unit did you say?" 507. He looked it up. "That apartment's been empty for 2 years. Widow passed away. It's locked and sealed until the family clears it." I laughed, awkward. "Well, someone's going up there. No one has the key." That night, I stayed late, waited, 43 p.m., nothing. 6:44, quiet. 45, the door opened. She walked in, same as before, but this time, she didn't smile right away. She stared at me for a long second, eyes too wide. Then that smile returned, slow and unnatural, like it had to reboot. "Good evening, dear." "Ma'am," I said, standing. "That unit is sealed. No one's allowed up there." She didn't respond. "Do you live here?" She just kept smiling. Then she turned and walked to the elevator again, and I swear to you, the floor indicator never changed. It didn't light up. It didn't move. She stepped in and disappeared. I told my manager again. He offered to pull security footage, but the file from that time window, corrupted, only static. I asked if he'd ever seen her. He shrugged. These old buildings are full of ghosts. Figurative ones. You'll get used to it, I didn't. Because the next night, she came back and this time, she wasn't alone. Another woman came in with her. Not identical. Younger. Maybe 40. But same eyes, same posture, same smile. Neither of them spoke. They walked past the desk in unison. When I tried to stop them, they both tilted their heads at the same angle, perfectly matched. And then, they laughed. Not loud. Not playful, just this weird breathy exhale, like they were mimicking a laugh. They stepped into the elevator. Still smiling, doors closed, no floor indicator. After that, it wasn't every night. Just some nights always around 6:45, and every time the group got bigger. First 2, then 4, then 6, all women. All dressed in shades of blue and gray. All with that exact same smile that never touched their eyes. They didn't talk. They didn't blink. They didn't carry bags or purses or keys, just walked silently into the building like they owned it. I stopped trying to stop them. I just watched. But one night, curiosity got the better of me. As soon as they stepped into the elevator, I called it back down. The doors opened immediately. It was empty. That same night, I checked the cameras again. This time the footage played, sort of. At first, it looked normal, the women walking in, slow, steady, smiling. But the longer I watched, the weirder it got. Their reflections in the glass lagged, one blinked. Then her reflection blinked after her, like the mirror hadn't caught up yet. And at the exact moment they stepped into the elevator, every camera cut out. I started documenting it, notes, photos, timestamps, but things kept disappearing. One morning, my notebook was gone from my drawer. Later, my phone's gallery was wiped clean, even the cloud backups, and every time I mentioned it to anyone, they either brushed it off or said I was seeing a social club that meets in the building. Nice ladies, one resident told me. Always say good evening. Beautiful teeth, beautiful teeth. I hadn't noticed until then, but yeah, none of them ever opened their mouths. They smiled, but their lips never parted. Not once, until last Thursday. It was 6:45. I was alone. They came in, all 9 of them now, filed past the desk, silent. I didn't speak, but the last one in line stopped, turned to face me, still, smiling then and slowly, and she opened her mouth and it just kept going. Wider and wider, until the skin at the corners stretched like plastic wrap. Her lips pulled back into something that wasn't human anymore, and inside her mouth, another smile, one that didn't belong to her. I looked away. When I looked back, she was gone. I think they're practicing, mimicking, wearing faces like outfits. And that smile. It's a mask, but they're getting better. I didn't tell anyone she said my name. Because I don't remember giving it to her. She didn't whisper it. She announced it. Like a greeter at a party. Hi, May. I froze. Not because she knew it, but because she said it exactly how I say it to myself. Same tone. Same rhythm, same me. Her voice sounded like mine, but like she hadn't learned how to use it yet. I didn't respond. She smiled and walked into the elevator with the rest. The front desk isn't the same anymore. Phones glitch when they call down from upstairs. The intercom repeats names that aren't in the system. Twice now it buzzed and a voice said, "May, it's your turn. Come upstairs. Everyone's waiting." I stopped looking in the lobby mirror because 2 nights ago I looked, and my reflection wasn't smiling, but I was, like, really smiling. That too wide plastic grin the women wear. The one that doesn't reach their eyes. The elevator started opening on its own. No one inside, just music. Faint, muffled, like a piano played underwater. Then the door would close, and the lobby would go back to silence. But the scent would linger, that same old lady floral perfume. The kind you can't find in stores anymore. It hangs in the air too long, sweet, powdery, and a little sour. One night I left the building right after they arrived. Walked fast, didn't look back. When I came home, my front door was open. Nothing was taken, but everything had been moved slightly. Chairs turned, silverware rearranged, curtains open, and a sticky note on my bathroom mirror, still smiling. I tried calling in sick. The manager didn't answer. When I called the building's main line, someone else picked up, Stonehill Terrace. May speaking. But it wasn't me. I started seeing them outside the building, reflections in glass, faces in windows across the street. In the corner booth of the cafe where I get my coffee, all of them sitting together, sipping, watching me. Every time I blinked, one of them was closer, then they were gone. The next night, only 8 of them came in, but I still counted 9 smiles. One woman had 2, one on her face, one stitched into the skin of her neck. I tried confronting them again. Stood up from the desk, blocking the elevator. What do you want? The one in front tilted her head. To welcome you. Into what? Home. Then they all opened their mouths at the same time, not to speak, just to show what was inside. It wasn't teeth. It was more smiles, layered, thin, like paper cutouts stacked on each other, curling at the edges like they'd been glued to something that wasn't made to hold them. I ran, locked myself in the back office, covered the mirror with a coat, sat there shaking until 7:13 p.m. when I knew they'd be gone. The next morning, I found a gift box on the desk wrapped in pale blue ribbon. No card. I opened it. Inside, a gray wig, carefully pinned, and a sweater, same color as hers, same knit pattern, folded neatly, with my name stitched into the tag. That night, I didn't see them come in. I just looked up from the desk at 6:45 and saw that they were already here, standing in the lobby, still, silent, smiling. You're almost ready, one said. Ready for what? They just smiled wider, then walked past me. One brushed my shoulder. Her hand was cold, but not cold like skin, cold like stone. I couldn't sleep after that. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw a circle of them standing around me, all smiling, all silent, their mouths slowly opening wider and wider until I couldn't see anything but teeth. I took a selfie the next morning to check if I looked as awful as I felt. My face looked normal, except for the smile. I wasn't smiling. But in the picture, I was. I deleted it, checked my phone gallery again an hour later. It was back. Only now, there were 3 more, all of me, all smiling wider and wider in each one. Yesterday, the elevator opened and a 10th woman stepped out. She wasn't with the others. She walked slowly, then stopped right in front of the desk. Leaning over, she said in a whisper, "You should see how you look from up there," then handed me a key. Room 507. I didn't take it. I left the desk, ran upstairs alone, just to prove it was empty. The hallway was quiet. Door 507 was open, not wide, just cracked, like someone had stepped inside and left it ajar. I pushed it open. No furniture, no lights, just a giant floor-to-ceiling mirror across from the door. And in it, all 10 women standing behind me, smiling. But when I turned around, no one was there. Just me. In the mirror, though, I was smiling. I didn't tell anyone about what I saw in the mirror. There wasn't anyone to tell. I hadn't spoken to a real person in days. Calls wouldn't connect. My texts stayed unsent. Even my manager stopped showing up. The front desk just became mine, like it had always been, like I was part of the building now. I stopped checking the clock, but somehow I always looked up right at 6:45 p.m. And every time they came in, the women, same pale blue and gray, same eyes, same 2 wide smiles. Only now, they walked behind the desk, filed in, one by one, stood in a circle around me and waited. I didn't say anything, neither did they, until one of them, the first one I ever saw, stepped forward and said, "You've been here long enough." Then she placed both hands on my shoulders. They were cold, but not like before. This time they felt familiar, like I'd felt them before. From the inside, she leaned close. Her breath didn't smell like breath. It smelled like flowers pressed between the pages of a book no one reads anymore. "You can stop pretending now," she whispered. "You don't have to smile for them." I didn't understand, but then she pulled something from her pocket. A compact mirror. She opened it, held it up to me. I looked inside and I saw her, not me, her. The same woman I'd been seeing night after night, smiling that too wide smile. Except now, she wasn't smiling. I was. The mirror snapped shut. She placed it in my hand. Then all 10 of them stepped back into the elevator. The Doors didn't close, they waited. I looked back. Down at the desk, the sign-in sheet was blank, but above it, scratched into the wood, 507 has always been yours. I stood, walked toward the elevator. No one said anything. They just smiled, and I did, too. The elevator moved this time. I felt it rising, higher than the building should go, past 3 floors, past 4, past 5, past something else. There were no buttons. No lights, just that scent again, mold flowers, dust, cold. When the doors opened, I was in front of 507 again, but this time the door was wide open. Inside, mirrors, dozens, hundreds, ceiling to floor, wall to wall, some cracked, some warped, all showing different versions of me, one younger, one older, one smiling too wide, one crying, one, in the center, standing perfectly still. She stepped forward. Me, but not me, wearing the same sweater, the same pinned hair, and when she opened her mouth, she spoke in my voice, "You're ready now?" I didn't resist. I walked forward, stepped into the mirror like stepping into warm water, and everything around me fell away. I'm at the desk again now, but not the same one. This one's deeper, older, covered in glass, no computer. No one tells me what to do. I just wait, watch the door, and at 6:45 p.m., she comes in, wearing a hoodie, carrying a backpack, new young, nervous. I smile at her. "Good evening, dear." She flinches, doesn't answer, walks to the elevator, pushes the button, the doors open. She steps inside. I don't need to ask where she's going, I already know, because that's how it works here. You watch the ones who came before you. You mimic. You smile, you fade. You become, and when someone new arrives, you help them feel at home, you smile, just like she did. And when they ask where I've gone, tell them the truth. I didn't disappear. I just kept smiling.